After paying their debt to society, people convicted of a sexual offense are placed on a registry that subjects them to restrictions other than those the judge ordered. This is one such story. Names have been changed to protect the identities. Paul was born with developmental disabilities, and despite being adopted by Matt and his wife Patsy, he had trouble fitting in. Even as a child, Paul was in and out of institutions where he learned behaviors that were aggressive and sexually demanding. And at the age of 16, during a time at home, Paul placed extraordinary pressure on Matt to behave illegally. Paul later mentioned this behavior to a counselor who reported Matt. In 2012, Matt was convicted of illegal touching. Recognizing Paul's aggressive behavior, the judge chose not to impose any contact or restraining orders, and Matt served probation with no time in jail. He completed his probation without incident. In 2020, Paul was a permanent ward of the state, living in an institution where he had been enjoying a relationship with his parents through phone calls, letters, and visits. However, that ended with the stroke of a pen. Not in Paul and Matt's county courthouse, but rather in their state capital, Jackson, Mississippi, where legislators passed Carly's Law. Matt and all other registrants received a no-contact restraining order, not given by any judge, but by an act of the legislature. When Carly's Law became effective, Matt was no longer permitted to speak with his son or to have any sort of contact at all. When the phone rang, Patsy picked it up, not Matt. Patsy explained that the new law prevented Matt from speaking to him, but Paul was still understandably upset. He wanted to speak to his dad. Patsy explained to Paul that the lawyers were unable to help because of Paul's legal standing as a ward of the state. Because she and Matt were no longer Paul's custodians, they had no standing to ask for an exception. Lawmakers had passed a law assuming that all crimes against a custodial family member were predatory in nature, and registrants were given no right to appeal. All U.S. citizens are entitled to due process of law, a right enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. And yet, Mississippi legislators went outside of due process and imposed blanket restrictions on all registrants after their sentences were served. Matt's story shows that there is more than one reason why people commit sexual offenses, and as long as society continues to recklessly and unscientifically experiment with the use of internet registries, more people will continue to suffer needlessly well after their sentences are complete. Does this story shock you? Are you angry that this is how the United States, who claims to stand for second chances, treats its citizens who are simply trying to move on and become productive members of society? To learn more about laws in a specific state, visit NARSOL's State Law Wiki at the link below. To get involved, visit narsol.org and join, donate, or volunteer. Visit lives.narsol.org to learn more about this video project and how to participate. We make every effort to assure our stories and law references are accurate. However, they should not be considered as legal advice. Laws constantly change. Please consult an attorney to confirm how they apply in your situation.